Bishop, we are getting ever so much closer to the most fateful election, certainly of our lifetime. How are you today, Bishop?
I'm doing great, Jason. We are, 7 days out, and this indeed would be the most important election of our lifetime. So we cannot afford to have Joe Biden to be elected. We cannot afford that.
No creepy, sniffing, sleeping, hiding, lying, creepy Uncle Joe.
Yeah, we cannot afford to have him. And the evidence, what we call the preponderance of evidence, is mounting up against the Biden family concerning this laptop. And if they are innocent, Jason, why haven't we seen Hunter Biden and the Biden clan with a slew of lawyers proclaiming their innocence? They're hiding, they're running because they're guilty. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've had some questions about how the laptop came to the public, but the more I think about it, you're right. If there was any impropriety with it, the first thing that they would do is just have a press conference with Hunter Biden or Joe Biden and point out the evidence that indicates that it's not true. But it does seem like there is a lot of extremely damning evidence coming out of that laptop, Bishop. And you and I have been having a lot of conversations about this in the past few days. There have been some truly salacious images, and obviously Hunter Biden is involved in a whole lot of disgusting things. But being disgusting, as long as it's legal, is not the same as these revelations of redirecting money from Chinese investments and Joe Biden trying to hide money flowing into these shell companies and everything. So I'm very interested to see the evidence and the testimony that this Navy veteran, Anthony Bobulinski, is going to present tonight.
Well, Jason, and this guy, Anthony Bobulinski, he went to Penn State, and now we talked about Jerry Sandusky on last week. So this man, this Bobulinski character, he's got damning evidence against Hunter Biden, against Joe Biden, because Joe Biden kept saying during the debate that he had no business dealings with the Ukrainians or the Chinese. Jason, the Biden family is politically compromised. That's why we cannot have them to occupy the White House. Absolutely.
Now, Bishop, you and I have also had a lot of conversations on this show about how the Emmys are suing me. Robert David Steele has sued me. A lot of people suing me. I'm learning a lot about lawyers throughout the process of that. And you know what I realized? Joe Biden actually spoke truthfully during the debate because he selected his words very carefully. He said he never received money from any foreign government. And I do believe that's true. What happened was his son received money from foreign governments. Joe Biden got money from his son.
This violates, Jason, the act going back many decades ago called the Trading with the Enemy Act. This cannot take place in our country. Joe Biden was one of the major backers of this bill long before even Joe Biden was born. This bill goes back into the early 1920s, Trading with the Enemy Act. And one of those countries was not only China, but the Ukraine. But yet, as you so powerfully articulated last week, Joe Biden is using his son as a conduit to make Joe Biden rich. And I won't be surprised if Hunter Biden ends up dead as a pawn in this game. So Joe Biden, he deserves to be in prison because Joe Biden is a traitor and he lied about fracking. He lied, And did you notice after the debate, Kristen Welker kept interrupting Trump during the debate? And anytime the president was about to expose Joe Biden, here comes Kristen Welker talking about race. Or let's talk about race. So sick of that. But, when Trump was exposing Joe Biden was just setting up there lying through his teeth concerning fracking, And so, no, that's why we cannot afford to have this Joe Biden to become the next president of the United States of America.
I agree with you completely, Bishop. And, I was thinking a lot about fracking because I spent some time in Louisiana about 10 years ago, and fracking was a big issue over there. I think it really does pollute groundwater and stuff, and there are certainly some questions that I have about fracking. But when I thought about it more, Bishop, I think that the president needs to deal with so many complicated issues. One of the key things that Donald Trump has done that I believe is an economic geopolitical move that is very powerful. And obviously there are trade-offs in these things, but what he's done is he's made the United States not only no longer dependent on foreign energy, we are now the largest exporter of energy in the world. And even though that may have negative environmental impact in the short term, it could have a more positive overall impact in the long term. So it's difficult to look at any one condition and come to any kind of conclusion. Just real quickly on potential things that the Bidens may have done that's illegal. I am going to have Larry Klayman on later today, and we can ask him some legal questions. But there have been accusations that Hunter Biden broke the FARA Act by failing to register as a foreign agent when he was dealing with some of these companies outside of the United States. So there's potentially a litany of very serious federal charges to be raised against Hunter Biden. I am perplexed, Bishop, because we've heard President Donald Trump say he's going to fire the FBI director and potentially even the attorney general. And I agree with both of those statements, but I just want him to do it now. Like, fire William Barr, put in Rudy Giuliani, drop these indictments, and go to lunch.
President Trump should have did this 3.5 years ago. Well, he fired James Comey, but my choice to be the AG was Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. He's a true patriot, the mayor is. So now, did you see Borat put up a photo of, and again, Jason, I don't care who Rudy sleeps with. And he wasn't even sleeping with this woman. He was just checking the mic within his coat. But this is how the deep state does. They're sick and they're running out of ammunition. Did you hear Kamala Harris say, I believe it was yesterday or day before, are we in Cleveland? Okay, she didn't know that she was in Cleveland. Jason, these individuals don't know what the heck they are doing. And this is the reason why we are being exposed to this other corruption. And you and I had talked about this last night. It seems like the Chinese are releasing these tapes and being connected to the Ministry of State Security. Very interesting times that we're living in. Yeah,
and I'm very cautious about this evidence of, we see a mix of Hunter Biden by himself naked with women that, the videos that I've seen, we can't tell who these women are, what their age is. He's obviously engaged in sex with them. He's smoking something. And the thing I want people to be cautious of, Bishop, is that whatever we think about the morality of these acts that are depicted, if they aren't specifically illegal, they're not that important because, we see him smoking something. Well, if he's in California, if he's smoking marijuana, whatever people think about that, it's legal. So I just don't want people to get distracted by these salacious details when we've got important evidence like Tony Bobulinski, and there's just been a recording that's come out really just a few minutes, I think, before we went live here, where it's Hunter Biden actually talking about doing business with these, Chinese intelligence agencies and really potentially damning information. So I just want to make sure that people don't get distracted by that stuff, because it seems to me, Bishop, they like to do that with things like Pizzagate and the 17th letter of the alphabet. They get everybody to focus their attention on something, then they crush that something and then say, see, everybody who is paying attention to that is stupid or a conspiracy theorist or whatever. So I don't want people to fall into that trap.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have to go by the facts, that which is factual. Now, as a side note, I'm going to get into later on, Jason, concerning the wife of Joe Biden, Jill Biden, whose maiden name is Jacobs, okay? And her bloodline was connected to the Max Frank bloodline. that later produced a young man by the name of Leo Max Frank, who was accused in the early part of the 1900s of raping a young white girl by the name of Mary Fagan, which was never to be proven to be true. But at the time, this Dr. Jill Biden, whose married name is Stevenson, so she was married to a man by the name of Bill Stevenson, who said on record, Jason, that Joe Biden, when he was married to Nelia Hunter Biden, was having an extramarital affair with now Jill Biden, who was formerly Jill Jacob Stevenson. So Bill Stevenson and Joe Biden were supposed to be great friends, and the Stevenson were helping Joe Biden in his run to be to be the senator of the great state of Delaware in 1972. But she was hired by Joe the year before in 71 to be the nanny for the Biden children, and she had committed adultery. But the thing is, Jason, like you said a minute ago, that is not only the most critical thing. The most critical thing is this. Joe Biden and Jill Biden has been lying for the past 40, 45, 47 years as to the timeline when they got married, Jason. Because according to Joe and Jill Biden, they got married in 1977.
Yeah.
But according to the Wilmington, Delaware records, as far as the date of their marriage certificate and their marriage license, they were married on the 20th of December, 1972.
Really?
Which is 2 days after the death of Nelia Hunter Biden.
Whoa.
Now, I'm not saying, Jason, that getting married to a woman 2 days after your wife died is a crime. Here's the problem. It's the timeline. Why are they lying about as to the timeline when they got married? They did not get married on the 17th of June of 1977. They got married on the 20th of December in 1972, 2 days after the death of Joe Biden's first wife, including his daughter, Naomi. Wow. Jason, these are devils that we're dealing with here today. I'm so excited that you and I are going to be talking about this today. So these are the things that must be discussed. Absolutely.
Now, you've just reminded me of something I wanted to ask you about, Bishop, because the first wife of Joe Biden, this woman, Nelia Hunter, I just found it so interesting that their son took the name, his first name was her last name. Originally, I thought it was some kind of a joke, like bow and hunter. You might go hunting with a bow and arrow. I just thought he was a dope and he named his sons, stupid. But the fact that the son takes the name, this is something we've seen the Bush family do, because the Harrimans, the Avrils, whatever, they're marrying these people, and then the last name of a family that they marry into becomes the first name of the descendants. What is that all about? Is that a religious thing? Is that a...
It's all a part of them intermarrying into the bloodline. Some weeks ago, you and I talked about the Wasserman bloodline and the Flagerheimer bloodline and the Rothschild bloodline. Now, according to my studies, I'm glad that you brought this up, Jason. The bloodline of the Bushes goes back into the 1500s, Jason. Into Staffordshire, England, including in the nation of Scotland in the early 1500s. So the original name of the Bushes was not called the Bushes. They were called the Talismans.
Whoa!
I kid you not, capital Talisman.
Isn't that witchcraft?
It's witchcraft. Absolutely. Oh my God, you hit a nerve with me, Jason. So the talismans, or that term, the word talismans, is connected to witchcraft and divination. So, which produced a man by the name of Abraham Talisman, in the 1800s, who then immigrated to Germany, Jason, in the mid 1800s. And the Talismans changed their name from Talisman to Scherf, to the Scherf family, capital Scherf, in Bavaria, Germany, which is the origination or the location of the Illuminati going back to 1776. And then from the Scherf family, capital S-C-H-E-R-F, they add an extra F for Scherf with two Fs later in the late 1800s. And thereby, before World War I, they changed their name from Scherf to Bush. Now, according to Otto Skorzeny, a high-ranking Nazi who was the bodyguard for Adolf Hitler, he said in an affidavit right before his death in 1999 that the 41st president of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, was of the Scherf bloodline, who knew Martin Bormann, who knew Reinhard Gehlen, and who knew Joseph Mengele, who later became the Doctor of Death. And then the Bush bloodline, in the early part of the 1900s, they intermarry into the Wolferson bloodline, which produced the bloodline of the Wolfowitz bloodline, which then produced Paul Wolfowitz, who was the president of the World Bank during the Bush administration, Bush II. So when you hit a nerve with me, Jason, concerning this Nelia Hunter Biden and then Hunter Biden, so the Talismans, the Scherfs, the Bushes, the Wolfersons, the Wolfowitz, they're all related by blood in this historical global cabal. Jason, this is demonic. And according to Otto Skorzeny, in an affidavit on his deathbed, he said that the Bush family, their real name is the Scherf family, a blood Germanic dynasty out of Bavaria, Germany. Jason, this is mind-blowing information. Excellent link there, Jason. So the Skorzeny son, and matter of fact, Otto Skorzeny was acquitted. He was acquitted at the Nuremberg trial. So that's something we got to absolutely. He spilled the beans on the Bush global bloodline. Powerful information, Jason.
Well, and you know, Bishop, there's one other question that comes to mind when talking about the Bush bloodline. I don't know if this is true, but there's rumors around the internet that Barbara Bush is directly descendant from Aleister Crowley, the Thelema guy.
And you and I had talked about that some months ago, you know, and similar features. Absolutely. Yep. Aleister Crowley, you talking about divinational witchcraft, talisman. So he was a talisman as well, you know, the creator of the Theosophical Secret Society in connection to Elena Blavatsky of the Thelema Secret Society. So these devils intermarry into each other's blood. And that's why many dynastic families, and I would love to do a series with you one day, Jason, concerning the origins of the global royal dynastic bloodlines. Many of their children today are suffering from all types of blood diseases. Okay, they're hemophiliacs because they have married into each other's blood through incest. So that's something to think about. Absolutely.
Wow. And you know, before we get underway with today's presentation, Bishop, it's important that we remind everybody they can follow you on Twitter at Bishop L. Gaiters. They can listen to you on iHeartRadio and also your new WOR 710 AM syndicated radio broadcast. People can also support you, Bishop, in your global spiritual revolution by going to paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. And they can support this show by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And you've prepared a comprehensive presentation for us today, Bishop. We're going to be talking about the House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And I also want to remind people that they can catch simulcasts of our broadcasts together, not only on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel and the Crowdsource the Truth 2 YouTube channel, but on the Global Spiritual Revolution Radio and Media Group YouTube channel. I want to thank the over 850 people that are watching us there right now, and remind viewers, if they aren't yet subscribed to the Bishop's channel, make your way over there. He's got a lot of content that is exclusive to his channel, in addition to the simulcasts of our shows here.
Jason, I'm so excited to be talking about this House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden Crime Family Volume 2. Now, just to give a little repeat of what you and I had talked about last week concerning Dr. Johannes Kepler, right? The 17th century German mathematician who had designed what they called the Kepler conjecture, which is a theorem stating that there is a global pattern of world history that has now become the global dispattern of corruption through politics. So this is called the Dr. Johannes Kepler conjecture, or better known as the Kepler conjecture, which is a global theorem that there is a set global pattern of history that has become the dispattern of dysfunctionality because of corruption, in connection to a book called Mysterium Cosmos Graphicum. Again, Mysterium Cosmos Graphicum, which was published in 1597, with the second edition in 1621. In other words, this global pattern of corruption, because of what they call the theorem of policy, or polity, or polite, which is politics. So the very origin or the origination of the term politics is to be polite. Now, what we are witnessing in Washington, D.C. is anything but polite. And then you and I talked about the bloodline of the Robinette bloodline being connected to the Biden bloodline going back to the 1600s. Now, before I begin to dissect that, let's start in 1972. Now, in 1972, Joe Biden is financially supported by a deep state banker, okay, a Pakistani by the name of Agha Hassan Abidi, capital A-G-H-A Hassan Abidi. He created the most notorious bank in human history, the BCCI Bank, which is now defunct, the Bank of Credit and Commercial International, which is portrayed in the 2009 movie, The International, with Clive Owen. So then the BCCI Bank, in connection to the political rise of one Joseph Robinette Biden, is paid with corrupted blood money. Now, why do I say that? Because the BCCI Bank, which housed billions of dollars of drug money from drug kingpins and drug cartels all over the world, and especially throughout Central and South America, including most of the intelligence agencies on the face of the earth, the Central Intelligence Agency, the NSA, the KGB, which is now the FSB, Russian intelligence, the South Korean intelligence of the NIS, the National Intelligence Services, including North Korean money through North Korean intelligence, in connection to Pakistani intelligence in the Ministry of State Security, which is the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA. So Joe Biden in 1972 got his money from a corrupted billionaire banker, Hassan Abidi, who also was highly connected to the Vatican Bank, Jason. So then the BCCI Bank, which was located in Luxembourg with sister offices all over the world, in Karachi, Pakistan, London, England, including Riga, Latvia. And one of the branches today that survived that scandal is a branch in Riga, Latvia by the name of the Baltic International Bank, which is a CIA creation. I'll come back to that later on in connection to Joe Biden. So then Joe Biden got his financial start in 1972 to a financial killer, a man by the name of Hassan Abidi. Now, Jason, what is more interesting that you and I had talked about a minute ago concerning Nelia Hunter Biden? Now, I'm not castigating any aspersions upon Dr. Jill Biden. My job is just to present the facts, and it's up for your people to come up with the proper conclusion. So then Nelia Hunter Biden was killed in an automobile accident on the 18th of December, 1972, okay, where their infant daughter, Naomi, was killed. Now, Beau Biden and little Hunter Biden was also in the car. They were critically injured. And I believe, Jason, not to give Hunter Biden a pass, but most of his trauma and his pain that he is self-inflicting upon himself, I believe was rooted in that 1972 death of his mother, Nelia Hunter Biden. Now, during this time, there is a nanny who works for the Biden family. Her name was Jill Jacobs Stevenson, the wife of Bill Stevenson. Now, the Guardian newspaper had interviewed Bill Stevenson a few years ago concerning Dr. Jill Biden. Now, Jill Biden, who was a former nanny for little Hunter and Beau, had an extramarital relationship with Joe Biden when Joe Biden was married to Nelia Hunter Biden. And Joe Biden was cheating on Nelia Hunter Biden. And Jill Jacob Stevenson was cheating on Bill Stevenson, who was at the time the best friend of Joseph Robinette Biden and helping him in his 1972 run for the Senate, representing the great state of Delaware. So when we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family, we also have to look at the death of Nelia Hunter. Now, Jason, I'm going to say this. I don't have any proof. You know me, I'm a historian, but this is my perspective. I believe that Nelia Hunter Biden was a sacrifice in order for Joe Biden to rise politically, okay? So Jill Jacobs, okay, her bloodline, Jason, goes back also to Bavaria, Germany, including to the Jacob family out of Scotland. But the original name of the Jacobs, okay, was the Max Frank family out of Britain, Scotland, and Poland. Now, I'm not castigating Jill Biden. My job is to connect the dots so that your people, your powerful listeners, can come up with the proper conclusion. So according to Jill Biden's ex-husband, Bill Stevenson, that the bloodline of Jill Jacobs goes back in the 1700s to the Max Frank bloodline, which eventually, Jason, produced a man by the name of Frank Max, Leo Max Frank. Now, if you notice the political and the legal story of Leo Max Frank, he was accused in the early parts of the 1900s in Atlanta, Georgia. He worked for the National Pencil Company in Atlanta, and Mr. Frank was accused of raping and killing a 13, 14-year-old girl, okay, by the name of Mary Fagan. Now, according to the authorities, okay, there in Atlanta, Georgia, this Leo Max Frank, who is a blood progenitor that would produce the Jacobs family, okay, who also changed their name to Jacobson. This has nothing to do with Jewish people. There you go, Jason. So Leo Frank Max Frank, whose bloodline goes back to Poland under the Prussian Empire, including England and Scotland, would later be hanged, Jason, because according to authorities, and we can't prove this, that according to the authorities in Atlanta, this young man, Leo Max Frank, had raped this girl, 13-year-old girl, and put the girl's body in the basement of the National Pinto Company, which at the time was the working area of a Black janitor by the name of John Conley. Now, Mr. Frank had blamed John Conley for the rape and murder of this young woman. But Mr. Conley was not at work on the morning that this young woman was found dead. So then Leo Max Frank was eventually hung, okay? Now, besides that, why do I bring him up in concerning the Biden family? So he is a blood progenitor that would produce the Jacobs along the line of Jill Jacobs today, when we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So Jill Jacobs, who had committed adultery, now, like you said, Jason, concerning Hunter, okay, now that is an illegal offense in the eyes of God, but in the eyes of natural law, it's not. That's part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is the timeline when they got married, Jason. Joe Biden and Jill Biden have been lying for the past 45 to 47 years as to the timeline when they got married. Now, we are told by Joe and Jill Biden that they were married in June, during the month of June, 1977. But according to public records there at the county courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware, they were married 2 days after the death of Nelia Hunter Biden.
Can we
on the 20th of December,
record,
1972.
Bishop? Can that be
What's
downloaded? That record of them
Yes.
getting married? Oh, where can I find that?
Absolutely. You can go to the Wilmington, Delaware record office, okay, as far as marriage license and certificates, okay? Definitely, I will send you that information after the program. And now, I'm not, Jason, listen, I'm not castigating the life of Jill Biden and saying that she's a whore. What I am saying, Jason, here's the problem. The problem, you're making me laugh here. The problem is the timeline. Why would you lie about that? Now it brings up other questions concerning what really happened to Nelia Hunter Biden on the 18th of December, 1972. Now, Jason, you and I had talked about a man some months ago. This man is a master spy connected to the Biden family. His name is Joseph Coffer Black. During the month of February 2017, Joseph Coffer Black, who is a former CIA counterintelligence officer from 1999 to 2002, and he was also the ambassador at large for the counterterrorism unit of the CIA. Wow. From 2002 to 2004. Man, I love teaching. So Joseph Coffer Black, whose specialty, Jason, is in counterterrorism, cybersecurity, national security, and foreign affairs, including hacking laptops and computers. Hunter Biden. So in dealing with Middle Eastern and African affairs, this Joseph Coffer Black, who was once a lobbyist, represented the CIA in connection to the Biden family, was also the vice chairman of the Blackwater Group concerning the Blackwater and the Whitewater scandals of the 80s and 90s in connection to Bonnie and Clyde, Bill and Hillary Clinton. So Joseph Coffer Black was Mitt Romney's 2011 National Security Advisor when Mitt Romney was running for the presidency. in 2011. Joseph Crawford Black sat on the executive board of Bain Capital, the former company that Mitt Romney founded. Now, Bain Capital has billions of dollars around the world in foreign banks, beginning at the Baltic International Bank out of Riga, Latvia. Now, as I said 10 to 15 minutes ago, the BCCI Bank, one of their banks that is still surviving today, is the Baltic International Bank in Riga, Latvia. Well, this Joseph Crawford Black is a member of the supervisory board for a CIA bank, the Baltic International Bank, which also has millions of dollars of Biden money. So as we're talking about this cabal, this crime syndicate, and I have to confess, Jason, I thought Bonnie and Clyde, Bill and Hillary Clinton were the worst politicians in American history. It's Joe Biden, Beau Biden, and concerning Hunter Biden, concerning the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Now, Beau Biden created a foundation called the Beau Biden Foundation for the protection of children. Now, you brought up so powerfully last week, it was Louis Freeh, former director of the FBI, who sat on the executive board for the protection of children. Louis Freeh was the individual who was investigating Jerry Sandusky. Now, Jason, the Barack Obama administration, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Beau Biden visited Penn State University in 2008, 09, and 2011. Excellent link there, Jason. Now, 1 month before the outbreak of the Jerry Sandusky scandal in October 2011, which the following month, Penn State was exposed in November 2011. It was the Biden family who sat on a foundation called the Second Mile Foundation, okay? Now, why is that so important? Because Jerry Sandusky created this foundation going back to 1993 as a front for child raping of young men and child trafficking. So this is the reason why Joe Biden wants Jerry Sandusky out of prison, because of what Jerry Sandusky knows about Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, James Biden, the younger brother of Joe, and then the Biden brothers with Beau and Hunter sat on the executive board. Now, Jason, all of the Bidens, Joe, James, Beau, and Hunter, left that board in January of 2011, okay, months before the outbreak of the scandal. Why? Because they knew what was coming down the pike. As we're talking about this crime family called the House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family.
Sorry, Bishop,
so
you're saying
Biden,
Sandusky was involved with the Beau Biden Foundation, or did I miss the name of the foundation?
Yes, they were both. Actually, not only was Jerry Sandusky, he sat on the Beau Biden Foundation prior to 2011, but also Joe Biden, James Biden, and Hunter Biden and Beau Biden sat on the Second Mile board, okay, up until January of 2011. Why would they leave the board months before the outbreak of the scandal involving Joe Paterno for covering up the crimes of Jerry Sandusky? Because Joe Biden knew the hammer was coming down. Now, Joe Biden wants Jerry Sandusky out of prison, including a man by the name of Robert Allen Stanford. We'll talk about him in the next half hour. So Joe Biden, along with John Kerry, led the Foreign Relations Committee board within the Senate, and Joe Biden was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And why is that so important? Joe Biden covered up his complicit connection to the BCCI scandal. So Joe Biden squashed that investigation, at least from the American side, because Joe Biden had committed a crime in violating Trading with the Enemy Act, Jason, going back to the early 1900s. So Joe Biden, who is the most corrupt politician in modern American history, has squashed the investigation. There you go, Jason, in that 1917 Trading with the Enemy Act, which was amended another 2 to 3 times by who? Joe Biden through the Senate. So that Joe Biden had millions of dollars with the BCCI Bank because Joe Biden, John Kerry, including the late John Philip McCain, sold weapons on the black market as early as 1973, Jason. As we're talking about this house of cards on the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Excellent link there, Jason.
Not to interrupt, Bishop, but what you're telling us here, it immediately causes me to think about Iran-Contra, because BCCI, I think we're going to get to that, right? And we've also seen...
Oh, Jason, you're so smart,
this is
brother.
important.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah, because we've seen this picture of Joe Biden together with William Barr, the current Attorney General, who at his own swearing-in hearing or confirmation hearing, he said that he had been the outside counsel to the CIA. Now, to somebody just tuning in, well, that just sounds like maybe somebody giving some advice to the CIA. But outside counsel means he was an attorney for the CIA.
See, exactly. In other words, this is the reason why AG Barr must be fired. Okay, he has done nothing to assist Donald Trump in bringing the swamp, into legal justice. That's why he has to fire these people now, not after the election, Jason, as we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Excellent link there, Jason. So Joe Biden and John Kerry were heavily connected to the BCCI scandal, also for money laundering. Now coming to the Contras of the 1980s. Joe Biden, being the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee and the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, was connected with the agency in the distribution of crack cocaine into America. He made millions of dollars, Jason. Nancy Pelosi made millions of dollars. Chuck Schumer, all of these devils made millions of dollars, including the Bushes, because of the Iran-Contra affair, where the agency had funneled cocaine, crack cocaine, into South Central LA with the knowledge of Uncle Joe sniffing Biden, whereas Black America was almost destroyed and neutralized because of the crack cocaine epidemic. Joe Biden was responsible for that crime because Joe Biden was also heavily tied to the Central Intelligence Agency, being the chairman, Jason, of the Foreign Relations Committee. So then, getting back to Hunter Biden. Now, Jason, this gets more deeper here as we're talking about the house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Now, here was a man, an attorney by the name of David Cohen, capital Cohen, laying the foundation concerning the political ley line life of Joe Biden. So David Cohen, from 2015 to 2017, was the former deputy director of the Central Intelligence Agency and the supervisor of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network within the agency, is now a law partner with the William Wilmer Hale law firm. Again,
Oh boy.
David Cohen
Robert
is a
Mueller's law
partner,
firm.
the Wilmer Hale law firm, which also, Jason, had another attorney by the name of David Hale, who is a former Arkansas municipal judge and former Arkansas banker, who was pressured by Bill Clinton to provide a $300,000 loan to Susan McDougal, who fell on the sword for Hillary Clinton. Yes, so Robert Mueller is involved in this. And this character, this attorney, David Cohen, who was the former deputy director of the CIA and the supervisor of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Unit in the agency. There you go, Jason. From 2015 to 2017, he also sits on the executive board of Bain Capital, including, Jason, the Lothian Commercial Bank, Enrica Lafayette, that's connected to the Baltic International Bank. Now, what does Joe Biden have to do with this? Because Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is married, Jason, to the niece of David Cohen, Melissa Cohen.
Oh, right. But they just got married, and she's beautiful, and he's a crackhead with babies with every stripper in the world, and his sister-in-law.
And denying the truth. That's right. So Hunter Biden is not in love with Melissa Cohen.
That's so they can't testify against each other or something.
That's right. She's just a prop to hide the crimes of Hunter Biden.
Now she's
Melissa Cohen is, that's right. She's innocent, but she is a pawn in this game to cover up the sexual escapades, okay, the sexual crimes of Hunter Biden. Melissa Cohen is innocent in this situation, but she's related to the former deputy director of the CIA, David Cohen, who is also a connection, a fixer for Joe Biden as far as hiding Biden corrupted money all over the world. So Joe Biden connected to Joseph Coffer Black, connected to David Cohen, whose niece, Melissa Cohen, is the wife of Hunter Biden.
Whoa.
Now this attorney, David Cohen, is an attorney at the Wilmer Hale law firm, Jason. And it gets deeper here as we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So the Wilmer Hale law firm is then connected to David Hale, an attorney who is the former Arkansas municipal judge and the former Arkansas banker, who was pressured by Bill Clinton to provide a $300,000 loan to Susan McDougal, including Jim McDougal, her husband, in order to financially subsidize the Whitewater deal.
Yes.
So then Susan McDougal fell on her sword and then served some time in prison because covering up for the crimes of this Bonnie and Clyde team, Bill and Hillary Clinton. As we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And Jason, it gets deeper here. Now, Jason, I'm going to say something about the 17th letter of the alphabet, okay? Now, I want to reveal this in connection to Joe Biden. When we're talking about the house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Now, people have been asking me, Jason, for the past year, Bishop, when did the Q movement begin? So the Q movement was not created by John F. Kennedy.
No, definitely
Q
not.
actually began on the 1st, Jason, of April in the year of 1860, okay?
Wait a second, Bishop.
So,
before we get into anything about this, This is
Yes,
like,
please.
they don't want people talking about it. I object to that, but I don't want this channel to get a strike for talking about 17th letter of the alphabet, because
I understand. I understand that, and so I definitely don't want your page to be taken down. But I just want to say concerning that 17th letter, yes, instead of saying the letter, but the 17th letter, yes, it began on the 1st of April, 1860, through three generals. Okay, Major General George McClellan, Major General Henry Halleck, and Major General Winfield Scott, and another 22 other generals. So the 17th letter was designed to protect American sovereignty, okay, in order to protect the first Constitution. George M. McClellan, capital McClellan, then Major General Henry W. Halleck, capital Halleck, and Major General Winfield Scott and 22 other generals had exposed two deep state Rothschild generals, Ulysses S. Grant, who went on to be the president of the United States of America, who had sold out to the international bankers through the 1871 Act that you and I have talked about so many times, that forced the United States to become the United Corporation of America by designing a second constitution. So Ulysses S. Grant was pressured by the Vatican, right? Pope Pius IX, including the Rothschilds in Eastern, Central, and Western Europe, to force the United States to leave the first constitution as a Christian constitutional republic to become a corporation, okay? Another deep state general, along with Ulysses S. Grant, was John Pope. You can see many pictures of him with his right hand inside of his jacket pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And along with these generals, Jason, in history, now I know that not to get away from the Biden crime family, but this is the reason why the 17th letter is trying to destroy Joe Biden, and rightfully so. And I want to use wisdom because I don't want to pronounce that letter. So remember General Smedley Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, a great patriot who was a 17th letter general. In 1933, he had exposed, excellent link there, Jason. This 17th letter general had exposed the business plot conspiracy, where there was a global cabal of bankers and industrialists who wanted to overtake the United States of America and thereby force President FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, to abdicate his presidency in 1933. But the 17th letter general had exposed this coup d'etat to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Excellent link there, Jason. Okay, as we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Excellent, Jason. So there is a word besides tyranny, and this word is called despotism. Despotism, capital DESPOTISM. It means the exercise of absolute political power. So Smedley Butler, a patriot who should have a statue in Washington, D.C., he was a 17th letter general who had exposed the plot. Now, according to a lot of political scientists, Jason, they believe that Smedley Butler was poisoned, okay, on the 21st of June in 1940 at the Naval Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but we have no proof of that. Now, as we move forward from Smedley Butler, okay, now you have three other 17th letter generals who had exposed the deep state, which will later produce a Joseph Robinette Biden in 1972. Now, you know, General George S. Patton was a 17th letter unknown general, okay? Then General Douglas MacArthur, who had exposed the deep state presidency of Harry S. Truman. It was the deep state that forced President Truman, give him hell, Harry, to create the atom and the hydrogen bomb. Excellent picture there, Jason. Douglas MacArthur is a patriot, a 17th letter patriot who exposed the presidency of Harry S. Truman, who later would go on to win a second term through a fraudulent voting system, okay, in which the governor of New York should have won that election. Another topic for another day.
Was that Dewey? That whole Dewey
yes, governor. That's right. So Dewey was set to be the president of the United States, but it was these jackals in the Truman administration whom Douglas MacArthur was exposing that stole the election, okay? Then there's a third 17th letter. Excellent picture there, Jason. There's a third 17th letter general by the name of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now, with that picture there, Dewey defeats Truman. Governor Dewey was set to be the next president. It was Governor Dewey who had brought down the mob here in New York City, right, in the late 30s, early 40s, beginning with Lucky Luciano, another topic for another day. So then Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a 4 to 5-star general, who was a 17th letter general as a 4-star general, became the president of the United States for America in 1952 to 1960. Now, in his last address, Jason, you know where I'm going with this, on the 17th of January, 1961, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
The 17th of January.
Yes. Oh, the 17th of January, 1961, before what, 4 days before JFK took office, I believe 3 to 4 days later. So the military-industrial complex, which Eisenhower was warning JFK that there are deep staters that you have chosen, John F. Kennedy, to be on through working for your administration, which later these jackals helped to take out John F. Kennedy on the 22nd of November in Dealey Plaza in 1963. So then we come from Eisenhower, we go to a man by the name of Senator Joseph McCarthy. So Senator Joseph McCarthy was a 17th letter senator. I personally believe, Jason, that McCarthy was a patriot. He served as the senator of the great state of Wisconsin from 1947 to 1957, whereas he exposed the Hollywood 10, Jason. Okay? He exposed the Hollywood 10 on the 25th of November, 1947, where the Communist Party, USA, being connected to the Soviet Union, had taken over the Hollywood movie and entertainment industrial complex. Excellent picture there, Jason.
Whoa, Bishop.
Joseph McCarthy.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go right ahead.
But Mel Chapman also points out 1961, you add up all those numbers, it also equals 17.
Oh, my. Repeat that again, Jason. That's
Mel Chapman in the comments, 1 plus 9, 1961. 1 plus 9 is 10. 6 plus 1 is 7. It's 17. It's a coincidence.
Jason,
but
that's not by accident. Oh, my God. Jason, again, that's not by accident. Now, that 17th letter, according to the Jewish rabbinical gematria, it means to bring light into darkness.
Really?
Or to expose darkness by bringing darkness into the light. And this word A-N-O-N, which I will not pronounce, That is a Greek Hellenistic term meaning to awaken, to awaken. So Joseph McCarthy, who should also have a statue in Washington, D.C., I'm laying foundation before we get back to Joe Biden. So it was the Hollywood 10 on the 25th of November, 1947. These writers and directors, actors and actresses at both the movie level and the television level were exposed, and the careers were destroyed, and rightfully so. Now, looking at Roy Cohn there, Jason. Now, there are rumors, now correct me if I'm wrong, there are rumors that Roy Cohn was a mentor of President Donald J. Trump.
Trump has said it himself. Trump has said it.
There you go. Roy Cohn was a fixer, okay? Roy Cohn was a fixer. So then, Joseph McCarthy, Roy Cohn, okay? These gentlemen were great friends, okay? So Joseph McCarthy had exposed the deep state communist front foundation in Hollywood. Excellent picture there, Jason. So Joseph McCarthy, through McCarthyism in 1950, revealed the enemies within, Jason, okay? McCarthy also exposed, along with Richard M. Nixon, Alger Hiss, who was a paid KGB spy, okay? We need a Joseph McCarthy today that would expose the Bidens, as we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And Alger Hiss was connected to spies of what the Cambridge Five, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. And so Alger Hiss was a traitor. But Joseph McCarthy, quickly before we get back to Joe Biden, was a 17th letter senator who on the 9th of February, I love teaching, in 1950, he traveled to Wheeling, West Virginia, okay, to give a Lincoln Day speech to the Republican Women's Club, exposing high-level Soviet agents within the United States government, okay, in connection to the blacklist in Hollywood. So Joseph McCarthy was a 17th letter senator. 5 minutes before we get back to the Biden crime syndicate. There was another general, Jason, you know, this man by the name of General George Scratchley Brown. General George Scratchley Brown, capital A Scratchley Brown. He was a 17th letter general who was also a part of the ANON, the politically awakened faction of patriots. There you go, Jason. In 1973, General George Scratchley Brown was the Joint Chief of Staff for the Air Force. And then the following year, in 74, was handpicked by Richard M. Nixon to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in 1974. Well, General George Scratchley Brown exposed the Watergate scandal. Wait a minute now. How is that a conservative Republican 17th letter general will expose his own party by exposing a Republican president? Because those of the 17th letter or the ANON, their job is to expose corruption,
Bishop,
regardless of what.
Very careful that we're not suddenly supporting this thing, because I believe it's a trick, it's a lie designed to destroy YouTube channels. And we've even got agitators in the chat who are suggesting that people do that. So I don't believe what that movement stands for, and I don't support that. So I want to be careful that we're not getting too positive on it.
Absolutely. And you notice Colin Powell. Now, I used to respect Colin Powell, okay, who was great friends with Joe Biden, but Colin Powell was once that 17th letter general but became a deep state Secretary of State because he outright lied, Jason, to the United Nations on the 5th of February in 2003, okay, as two men sat behind Secretary Powell, George Tenet of the CIA, and John Negroponte, who was the ambassador to the United Nations, sat behind Colin Powell, as Colin Powell was lying to the American people by lying to the United Nations. Colin Powell became a deep state general and a deep state secretary of state who lied to the UN concerning weapons of mass destruction, as we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden crime syndicate. Now, Jason, let's get back to the Biden family. Now, Hunter Biden, okay, owns a 10% interest in the Bohia Harvest Investment Fund, Jason, a 10% interest. Now, back in 2003, Joe Biden purchased a 50% stake of an automotive corporation by the name of the Henniges Automotive Group, capital Henniges. The Henniges Automotive Group was owned by the Chinese government, Jason, in connection to the Chinese military contractor AVIC. So which was identified as a front for the Chinese military industrial complex. Jason, it gets uglier and deeper here as we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So this Henniges Automotive Group, which is partly owned by Joe Biden, is actually ran by the Chinese military contracting company, AVIC, Jason, which is connected to the Ministry of State Security, which is the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA. Wait a minute now. So Henniges Automotive Group, because they were connected to Chinese intelligence, was sanctioned before Barack Obama took office. It was sanctioned by the Bush administration, Bush II, prior to the presidency of one Barack Hussein Obama. So the Henniges Automotive Group, which is partly owned by Joe Biden, thereby it should be nullified according to the Trading with the Enemies Act going back to 1917. So the Henniges Automotive Company, that's out of Michigan, but ran by China, was sanctioned by George W. Bush prior to the Obama administration, who then approved the sale to Joe Biden in 2008, while Joe Biden was vice president. Jason, it gets ugly here. Jump in anytime if you see something. So then Joe Biden turns around and says, I'm going to be tough on China. Oh, please. So Joe Biden is a puppet and asset of the Chinese government. So then the Bohia investment firm that is owned 10% by Hunter Biden, which also Christopher Heinz, the stepson of John Kerry, and the son of Teresa Heinz, also owns an interest of the Bohia Group, including Devon Archer. Now, you remember, Jason, a few years ago, Hunter Biden, Christopher Heinz, and Devon Archer sat on the executive board of Burisma, not having any oil or gas experience. And also Hunter Biden, Christopher Heinz, and Devon Archer, not only they don't have any oil and gas experience, but they don't have any banking or financial equity experience in running the Bohia investment firm. So the Henniges Automotive Group is tied to the AVIC, or the Aviation Corporation of China, which is ran by Chinese intelligence, Jason, as we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Now, Jason, remember this general, a man by the name of General John Shally Cashville.
Oh, yeah.
David Hawkins would often talk about him.
Yes.
General John Shally Cashville, for your listeners, was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during the Clinton administration. He is the son of the former Waffen SS killer, Dmitry Shally Cashville. The father of John Shally Cashville was a part of Operation Paperclip that brought over former Nazis to integrate them into American society by first integrating them into the American government. Excellent picture there, Jason. So then, General John Shally Cashville, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that was approved by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee through Joe Biden. So Joe Biden sat on the executive board of the Boeing Corporation along with the son of this Waffen SS killer, John Shally Cashville. Now, Jason, as we continue to methodically break down this foundation concerning this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So Dmitry Shally Cashville was a Nazi Waffen SS killer, okay, whose son, John Shally Cashville, became the commander, okay, of the North Atlantic Treaty Organizational Alliance as the supreme Allied commander in Europe. The bloodline of Nazis ran NATO. The wife of Dmitry Shally Cashville, Jason, it gets deeper here, who was the mother of General John Shally Cashville, was a woman by the name of Maria Rudiger, capital R-U-E-D-I-G-E-R, capital R-U-E-D-I-G-E-R, whose family was a German industrialist family who had helped finance the political rise of Adolf Hitler. I'm talking about the mother, her family, the mother of John Shally Cashville, who was the wife of his father, Dmitry Shally Cashville. The Rudiger family were German industrialists within the steel industry connected to the Thyssen family in Germany that would build the financial and the political rise of the Third Reich, Jason. So John Shally Cashville was then elected to the board of directors of the Boeing company in May of 2000. Joe Biden also sat on that board during that protracted period of time.
Whoa, hold on, Bishop. This is so much stuff. Hang on. We got so much happening here. So first of all, when I looked up this Maria Rudiger, did you see this? Are you aware? It brought up this Rudiger Maria Mueller.
Oh, my. Oh.
But I don't know what that is. And then when you said Thyssen, I immediately thought of this company, ThyssenKrupp, which I don't know what they do. But I remember I saw their truck parked over there by the Javits Center in the early days of the pandemic when I was walking around and nobody at all was on the streets except for this group of like 5 or 10 cops, the special response group, standing right next to a ThyssenKrupp truck.
Jason, this is absolutely mind-blowing here, especially about the Mueller part. Now, there's a rumor, I can't prove it, that Robert Mueller's father was a Nazi SS officer. There is no proof of that. but the Muller bloodline goes back to Berlin, Germany. In other words, we have in our government today, not all, but a great percentage of the children and the grandchildren of former Nazi killers. It was the Third Reich who later on created NATO, okay, who went on to create the EU, the European Union, who will go on to create through Operation Paperclip, the Central Intelligence Agency, by absorbing their Office of Strategic Services, OSS, okay, into the CIA. Who helped them to do that? Not just Wild Bill Donovan, okay, but also Reinhard Gehlen, the German master spy who created the secret society called Action, capital Aktion, which means Antifa. So these grandchildren today, including the Bushes, they have Nazi blood in them. So then when we're talking about this house of cards, mind-blowing concerning Maria Rudiger Moller, Jason, this is absolutely mind-blowing. I think I'm going to need multiple forklifts to pick up my jaw from the floor as we're talking about the house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So General John Shally Cashville passed confirmation because of the political backing of Joe Biden. So then John Shally Cashville went on to sit on the boards of Boeing, so did Joe Biden, and of the Frank Russell Trust Company, so did Joe Biden in 2001, and of the L3 Communications Holding, so did Joe Biden in 2003, and on the executive board of the Plug Power Incorporation and the United Defense Industries, which also had a man by the name of Joseph Robert Biden who sat on those executive boards. That's a conflict of interest, Jason, as we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Again, that's mind-blowing right there, Jason. Rudiger Maria Moller. Now, again, we don't know if the Moller family is connected to the bloodline of the Shalikashvili or the Rudiger bloodline, but that's something to look into, Jason, regarding the Biden crime syndicate. So Joe Biden had helped John Shalikashvili pass confirmation to become the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a man that has Germanic blood, Nazi blood, ran our military industrial complex. It was this same man, Jason, John Shalikashvili, under the orders of President Bill Clinton, sold military technology to the Chinese from 1992 to 1998. It was John Shalikashvili who committed treason, Jason, from 92 to 98, sold military technology to Indochina, okay? Another was John Shalikashvili, okay, should have been sent to prison for treason, including Bonnie and Clyde, Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Here he is with John Kerry.
In reference to the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Go right ahead, Jason.
Here he is with John Kerry.
Yeah, well, that's not John Kerry there.
No,
that's not
on the
John,
right, isn't it?
No, that's not John Kerry. No, that's not John Kerry. I cannot remember that senator's name, but that's not John Kerry there on the right. No, that's not John Kerry. So then, as we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden crime family, and it gets ugly here, Jason. And so then, John Shalikashvili, okay, is not the only former grandson of a Nazi to assume political power within the Western Hemisphere. Now, if you remember, Jason, there was a man by the name of Adolf U. Singer, capital Heusinger. Adolf U. Singer, who became the chairman of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization called NATO. He became the chairman in 1961. There's that number 61 you may mention in reference to the number 17. Now, what does Adolf Usinger, who was the former Nazi chief of staff for Adolf Hitler, why is he connected to Joe Biden? Because the Simon Wiesenthal Center, between 1979 to 1982, shortly before Adolf Usinger died, on the 30th of November 1982, wanted to prosecute this former Nazi. It was Joe Biden that squashed that investigation. Why? Because Joe Biden has got money tied up in German banks. Jason, you're dealing with the most corrupt politician, Joe Biden, in American political history. So Joe Biden got this former Nazi SS killer, who was the former chief of staff for Adolf Hitler, Adolf Usinger, who would go on to become the chairman of NATO in 1961. Now, Jason, in 1949, there was a law that provided security against the threat posed by the Soviet Union, Now, as we move on here, Jason, it gets deeper here. Now, again, this Adolf Usinger, who was the former chief of staff for Adolf Hitler, Joe Biden shut down the investigation to the chagrin of the Simon Wiesenthal Center. In other words, Joe Biden, who is supposed to be pro-life, pro-this, and pro-black, and pro-human being, shut down the investigation of one Adolf Usinger, from 1979 to 1982, shortly before the death of Adolf Usinger. Excellent link there, Jason. Another man that got off for crimes against humanity because of Joe Biden was General Hans Speidel, capital Speidel. General Hans Speidel was the former chief of staff for General Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, during the advent of World War II. General Hans Speidel went on to become the supreme commander of NATO's ground forces in Central Europe between 1957 to 1963. But Joe Biden got him off too because Simon Wiesenthal was after this General Speidel for crimes against humanity. So because Joe Biden was the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. Joe Biden not only was hiding money in German banks, but he often got former Nazis off from prosecution and from being hung because Joe Biden is complicit in the cover-up of corrupted money that he has in banks all over the world. What interest, my friend, would Joe Biden, with him defending Nazi killers? That's something that must be explored. As we're talking about this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Jason, it gets deeper here. Jump in anytime if you see something. Now, in this 1972 law, Trading with the Enemy Act, which was amended in 1933, we're still being tied to the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So in 1917, on the 6th of October, the United States Congress and Senate passed the Enemy Act, or Trading with the Enemy Act, that was amended in 1933, same year that General Smedley Butler, that 17th letter general, exposed the business plot conspiracy. So Trading with the Enemy Act was amended in 1933 as the Emergency Banking Act, Jason. So the Trading with the Enemy Act was again amended in 1977 as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act because of Joe Biden.
Wow.
Joe Biden kept amending the original 1917 Act of Trading with the Enemy because Joe Biden was complicit in hiding his money through money laundering in nations like China and Ukraine years before Hunter Biden was even thought of. Jason, we're talking about the most corrupted politician in our nation's history. So then, Trading with the Enemy Act then was amended, Jason, in 1933 through the Emergency Banking Act, which was amended again in 1977 as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act in 1977 is the offspring of the 1917 law of Trading with the Enemy Act, which Joe Biden, Senator Biden, who was the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, along with John Kerry, okay, on the Senate Select Committee on Oversight, had amended this law so that these politicians could hide money in offshore banking accounts so that they could trade stock with the enemy. Jason, you're dealing with the most corrupted politician in American history, and refers to the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So then Joe Biden also had a North Korean, Jason, okay? North Korea was moved. Let me tell you how corrupt Joe Biden is. Now, there is a law, Jason, that's connected to the Trading with the Enemy Act that goes back to 1917, which is also called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. Joe Biden, Jason, in 1978 had also amended the 1807 Embargo Act, okay, by removing North Korea as a state-sponsored terrorist organization. Why would Joe Biden do that? Because Joe Biden, along with sellout John McCain, have been selling weapons on the black market. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't believe it. I don't care. My job is to present the facts. And it's up to the American people to come up with the proper conclusion. Joe Biden, okay, abused his position as the senator of the state of Delaware to enrich himself and to enrich his family by dealing with enemies like China, like the Ukraine, during the time that Ukraine was a Soviet satellite until August of 91, when the Soviet Union fell. Also, Joe Biden also amended, Jason, the 1925 Helium Act, capital Helium. What is the Helium Act? Glad you asked. The Helium Act of 1925, it forbid the export of strategic commodity or commodities during the Cold War, Jason, later between 1947 to 1991, during the fall of the Soviet Union. Joe Biden amended that act of the Helium Act of 1925, Jason, in 1980. Why? Because Joe Biden was also trading with the Soviets, and along with John McCain, of selling weapons on the black market. I don't know why, Jason, that people think John McCain is a hero. He's not. John McCain.
What about H.W. Bush? Same thing.
H.W. Bush as well. H.W. Bush And it was the Bush family, whose real name is Talisman, right? And from Talisman to Sheriffs into Bush, okay? They gave the father, George H. Herbert Walker Bush Sr., gave millions of dollars through Chase Manhattan Bank to the Third Reich. This violated, Jason, not just the Helium Act of 1925, but the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917. So then, North Korea, China, including Ukraine, up until 91, were a part of the list, Jason, of state-sponsored terrorist nations that was revealed in 1979. But the original list was amended because of Joe Biden being the chairman of the Foreign Select Committee. Because Joe Biden traded with the enemy, North Korea, China, and Ukraine, when Ukraine was under Soviet domination until 1991.
Real quick,
Jason,
Bishop,
go right ahead.
why did they call this thing the Helium Act? Was helium considered a strategic asset?
Well, not so much of that, but they were sometimes, not just sometimes, all the time, the deep state would use words like helium, okay, or the word trading, or the word international. And that term act didn't even come into political fruition until the Second Constitution. What is an act? You have to have an actor to portray an act. Right. So then the political psyop of the term act is because of the Second Constitution. So the term helium, and probably let me do some study into that, Jason.
Well, we got an answer. Question. We got an answer here. It's because dirigibles were widely used at that time, and by banning the export of helium, it forced them to have to use hydrogen, which I believe is less stable, highly flammable, and of course the Hindenburg exploded. But you know, I was thinking about this because I don't know if you're familiar with Peter W. Smith, but he's a guy who was looking for Hillary Clinton's emails, and he was an associate of Charles Ortel's, who appears on this show all the time. And he was alleged to be working with General Flynn, although I've never seen any evidence that he actually was. He boasted about trying to work with General Flynn, but they've tried to conflate his work with General Flynn, and he died in a hotel room, allegedly by suicide and from inhaling helium.
Oh, thereby the Helium Act of 19. Jason, that again, that is a powerful, powerful connect that you just made. That's why, Jason, you're teaching me as well concerning the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And before we close out today, remember the other night during the debate, Joe Biden mentioned of two words, dark winter. Yeah. Not just once, but twice. He was not supposed to be saying that. That is connected to Operation Dark Winter. Give me about 5 minutes. I will definitely expose that concerning this house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And so then, Jason, as we are about ready to connect to the debate the other night, so you have nations like China who was sanctioned because of the Embargo Act, which was first created in 1907. So China in the Ukraine. But Joe Biden has superseded or circumvented that law to enrich himself and his family. Now, as a sign up before we get into Operation Dark Winter, Jason, Joe Biden in the year of 1972, when he first got elected as senator of Delaware, sat on the executive board of the Brown Brothers Harriman Group here in New York City. Joe Biden, which is a conflict of interest, that was created by the late Edward Henry Harriman, through the Harriman sons, had supported the rise of Adolf Hitler. why would Joe Biden be connected to a corporation that has supplied the political financial power for one Adolf Hitler? It was the four sons of E.H. Harriman who had then established the financial political authority of the Third Reich. These are traitors, Jason. And another man that you know that's was later connected to the Biden crime family. His name is Armand Hammer. Okay. So I believe his grandson or his great-grandson is an actor in Hollywood. Armie Hammer, a communist. Another topic for another day. Armand Hammer, Jason, became the chairman of the Occidental Petroleum Corporation that he ran from 1957 until his death on the 10th of December, 1990. So it was the Occidental Petroleum Company that was financially ran by the KGB up until the fall of the Soviet Union in 91, which also had created Occidental College.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because didn't Barack Obama go there?
Barack Obama went to Occidental College in the year of 1979. Why is it, Jason, that the educational records, the theses that Barack Obama wrote at Occidental, Columbia, and Harvard, why are those papers classified? Those papers are supposed to be for public consumption. Barack Obama is a communist. Barack Obama was handpicked by the deep state as a puppet. Now, as a side point, Jason, I don't believe that the children of Barack and Michelle Obama belong to them. I'm talking about Sasha and Malia. Okay, that's another topic for another day. But Armand Hammer, shortly before his death, Jason, gave a check to President George H.W. Bush for $110,000 so that George H.W. Bush, the father of George W., could give a commentation, to commute the sentence of Armand Hammer. Why? Because Armand Hammer gave an illegal $54,000 check to Richard M. Nixon in 1971. So then Armand Hammer, the Petroleum Corporation, had built the Occidental College, which Barack Obama was a student in 1979. Now, you remember the other night, Jason, I had the laugh when Joe Biden said that Barack Obama and himself, they have rescinded or pardoned the convictions of 1,927 people. But Jason, my friend, what Sleepy Joe didn't tell you and I, all 1,927 people were drug kingpins, killers, mobsters, and embezzlers of billions of dollars of corporations around the world. So then that's the reason why Barack Obama has a multi-million-dollar home in the Hamptons, because of drug money. Barack Obama has a multi-million-dollar home in Washington, D.C. because of these gangsters. And Barack Obama has property in Chicago because of these gangsters. Barack Obama does not love America because Barack Obama is the worst president in U.S. presidential history. And then the U.S. pardon attorney under Obama, Robert A. Zomer, capital Z-A-U-Z-M-E-R, was instructed by President Obama and Joe Biden to pardon 1,927 drug kingpins, killers, mobsters, embezzlers, Jason.
Now, wait a minute.
To enrich Barack Obama and to enrich Joe Sleepy Creeping Biden, Jason.
But Bishop, What college is it that Jerry Sandusky was doing his thing at?
Penn State University.
Not University of Pennsylvania.
Penn State University. I think the University of Pennsylvania is a separate school. Yeah. It's a different school than Penn State. Yeah, it was Penn State. Now, Jason, in my conclusion, Joe Biden said a word that he was not supposed to say. You notice near the end of the debate, at the debate, when his wife came to embrace him, and you know, Joe Biden did not want to embrace Jill Jacobs Stevenson Biden because Joe Biden messed up. He was not supposed to be revealing Operation Dark Winter. Now, one may say, well, Bishop, what is Operation Dark Winter have anything to do with Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden said the word. Operation Dark Winter was first designed by the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the Pentagon, in conjunction with the Center for Strategic and International Studies at the Johns Hopkins University Center for Civilian Biodefense Studies that produce the ANSER Institute, capital ANSER Institute from Homeland Security. Now, allow me to bust everyone's bubble. The Department of Homeland Security did not begin after 9/11. The Department of Homeland Security was already in place, Jason, 3 months before 9/11. Why? Because the Bush administration knew what was coming down the pike 3 months later, called 9/11. So Operation Dark Winter, in connection to U.S. intelligence, okay, Johns Hopkins University, okay, also connected to the Oklahoma City National Memorial Institute for the Prevention of Terrorism. Simply, my friend, Operation Dark Winter is a simulation program, a simulated covert smallpox attack program on the United States that was first exercised on the 22nd of June, 2001. The second exercise, there you go, Jason, was on the 23rd of June, 2001, 3 months prior to 9/11. Operation Dark Winter is the father that would produce Event 201 18 years later. On the 18th of October, 2019, 5 months before COVID-19 shut down the nation. So then, through Operation Black Winter, those words that Joe Biden said, and I challenge any one of your listeners to go back to that YouTube video, which is on multiple sites on YouTube, where Joe Biden said Dark Winter not once but twice. So then Operation Dark Winter, okay, is the government's response, my friend, to a bioterrorist attack of a highly contagious disease, COVID-19. So then Operation Dark Winter was designed to increase awareness of the scope and character of the threat posed by biological weapons among senior national security experts. Wait a minute now. In other words, it would increase the awareness, notice the words, of the scope and character of the threat posed by biological weapons among who? Among senior national security experts in order to improve the prevention and response of strategies to a bioweapon attack on America. So on the 22nd of June to the 23rd, 2001, 3 months before 9/11, Johns Hopkins, the Johns Hopkins Center for Civilian Biodefense Strategies, with the backing of the company, the CIA, the NSA, the National Security Agency, and the Pentagon, 3 months before 9/11, then gave birth 18 years later to Event 201. So then, Event 201 was sponsored by the John Hopkins Center, just like Operation Dark Winter. Event 201, okay, was sponsored by the John Hopkins Center for Security in partnership with the World Economic Forum in connection to the Bill and Melinda Robin Williams Gates Foundation.
What about the Bloomberg?
Connection, Jason.
Bloomberg School of Public Health.
Yes. Oh, my friend, you're 10 steps ahead of me. Excellent. The Bloomberg through the financial backing of mini Mike Bloomberg, who tried to buy his way into the presidency. Mike Bloomberg is a traitor to the United States. So Mike Bloomberg money, Gates Foundation money, George Soros money through the Open Society Foundation, including Jason, with money through the Zuckerberg Initiative, where Mark Zuckerberg, who is a grandson of David Rockefeller, another topic for another day, and it is Facebook who is censoring conservative thought. Okay, it is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter who wants Joe Biden to win. They won't expose Hunter Biden's mess on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, but they will put up a little picture of Rudy Giuliani, who was not even having sex with this. This is how sick that the left is. But Event 201 was a simulated program. And now, why is it called Chan Zuckerberg Initiative? Because the wife of Mark Zuckerberg, okay, is Dr. Chan, okay? I believe her name is Priscilla, if I'm not mistaken. So Dr. Priscilla Chan is the wife of Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg, okay? They had put up Priscilla Chan, and I'm not bashing her character, but Jason, she's a part of the deep state. Her family, the Chan family, are one of the founding members, Jason, of the Confucius Institute. The Confucius Institute is the Council on Foreign Relations Chinese type of secret society. The Confucius Institute. Now, remember, as a side note, Jason, was it some months ago, there was a Chinese professor at the University of Pittsburgh that was found dead, supposedly of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He was investigating the conspiracy concerning COVID-19. He was a member of the Confucius Institute. Excellent link there, Jason. So the Chan family that would produce the wife of Mark Zuckerberg, whose real name is Rockefeller, would be one of the founding members, okay, of the Confucius Institute, okay? So the Confucius Institute is a deep, dark, secret society where the deep state in China, who had executed COVID-19 around the world, had produced the wife of Mark Zuckerberg, Dr. Priscilla Chan, whose family is one of the founding members of the Confucius Institute.
What does this logo look like to you, Bishop?
That looks like, no, that could be, looks like the number 6. You know, oh my God.
How about
Jason,
the 17th letter of the alphabet?
Yes. Can you expand that? Something
That's
just came
as much
to my
as
mind.
I'm able to expand that one. Let me see if I find another
Jason,
version of it. There we go.
There you go. That Haban, that logo, almost like the number 6, also looks like the number 6 in the Walt Disney logo that says Walt Disney, okay? So the Walt Disney, and I'm not saying anything that Walt Disney has any connection with the Confucius Institute, but it just came to my mind.
But it definitely looks like the
6.
17th letter of the alphabet to me.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, absolutely. See, Jason, the number 17 in rabbinical gematria is a number of spirit and order, which represents bringing darkness into light by exposing darkness, or that which is awakening, that A-N-O-N word, which I would not say. So then that is the logo of the Confucius Institute, which the wife of Mark Zuckerberg is a member of, and her family is one of the founding members of the Confucius Institute, which is a deep state think tank in China. So then, Event 201 was financially also backed by the Central Intelligence Agency and the FBI. Now, remember, you and I had talked about some months ago the Event 201. Now, the participants, these young people that are innocent, okay, they don't know what's going on. So why was Event 201 called Event 201? On July 20th, Jason, in the year of 2019, through the Gates Foundation, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates had incorporated the legal entity of Event 201 in Washington, D.C., because July 20th, yeah, do you hear me?
You cut out for a second.
Okay. So then Event 201 was registered as a 501c3 entity as a incorporation on July 20th, 2019, because that is the exact date, Jason, that is the 201st day of 2019.
So
then
event
3 months later
is a 501c3? The event
yes,
itself?
the 501c3, and they became an incorporation, a legal entity on the 20th of July, 2019, which is the 201st day of 2019. 3 months later, and those people you see there, more likely they're innocent, Jason. I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming those who have financially supported this simulation. On the 18th of October, 2019, 5 months before the outbreak of COVID-19. So John Hopkins, because of Event 201, Jason, it gave birth to this contact tracing bill that the former Black Panther, Bobby Rush, that looks like he has a dog's face. I'm sorry, Jason. See, I'm a contract killer. So Bobby Rush, who had his best friend, Fred Hampton, assassinated, okay, in Chicago, Illinois. Bobby Rush wrote the policy for this contact tracing bill of H.R. 6666, which Joe Biden supported in connection to the Bloomberg School of Public Health and the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which will also produce, with the backing of Joe Biden, the patent application, here we go, of WO 2020 060606, that cryptocurrency system, body activating data system that was financially supported by Microsoft through Bill Gates. Also, Jason, a man by the name of Mr. Steve Ballmer, who is the former chairman of Microsoft, who is now the owner, Jason, of the Los Angeles Clippers, had financially supported not just contact tracing HR 6666, but this cryptocurrency patent application of 060606, and 95% of the players for the Clippers on that team are Black. But yet it was Steve Ballmer and Bill and Melinda Gates said that Black people would be the first ones to receive the vaccination. What they're saying, Jason, that Black America are going to be the first ones that would be exterminated. This is because of the birth of Operation Dark Winter on the 22nd to the 23rd of June in 2001, 3 months before 9/11, which then gave birth 18 years later, my friend, to Event 201. These devils knew, Jason, what was coming down the pike. They don't care about you and I. This is about control and power. And my friend, that is the end of Volume 2 of The House of Cards, The Coming Fall of the Biden Crime Family. And I thank you. This is mind-blowing information that your powerful listeners received this afternoon.
Definitely, Bishop, and thanks to you for putting it all together. I want to remind people that they can support the global spiritual revolution by going to paypal.me/GSRR Media Group, and they can follow you on Twitter at Bishop L. Gaiters. We need to boost up your Twitter following there a little bit, Bishop. You've been doing really well with the YouTube channel. People who've been watching us today on the Jason Goodman YouTube channel or on Crowdsource The Truth 2 should also make their way over to the Global Spiritual Revolution Radio and Media Group YouTube channel. I want to thank the over 1,700 people watching us live there. We've got more than 1,700 watching on the Crowdsource The Truth.
That's awesome.
Social media channels. So, Bishop, we've got almost 3,500 people listening to you today. We've got close to that amount of social engineering trolls. I want to remind people, anytime you see a troll in the chat on a Crowdsource The Truth video, you can become a sponsor at subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I can't bring you great guests like Bishop Gaiters without your support and sponsorship. And I'm doing my best to help people identify these social engineering operations. Obviously, fake names being used, stupid comments going in there. This is happening because people want to distract away from the things that the bishop is talking about. Certainly anyone who's got a sensible something to add, even if you disagree with the bishop, you can send a polite message. You can send me an email on truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org. We're always open to hearing new information. But stupid people with stupid fake names that put stupid comments into the chat are going to be dealt with harshly. And Bishop, I want to thank you for another excellent production today. The show was great. The information was great. People will be looking forward to next week for the destruction of the coming fall of the Biden crime family.
And that owner Scorsini, who had exposed the Bushes, Jason, as to the authenticity of their real name as sheriff. Otto Scorsini's bloodline is related to the Sarkozy bloodline out of France. Nicolas Sarkozy is the former president of France, who's related to the late Otto Scorsini. Jason, the names change as we're talking about this global cabal concerning the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Jason, this is powerful information. And the reason why we got stupid idiot people, who cannot spell even their last name. These are people, Jason, who are not on your level. They're not on my level as being on that political educational level. So I don't react to people like that. My job is to present the facts, and it's up to your powerful listeners to come up with the proper conclusion. But President Nicolas Sarkozy, former president of the nation of France, is related by blood to Otto Scorsini, who had exposed the Bush bloodline. Their original name is Talisman, capital Talisman, which means witchcraft or divination, which became Scherfs, which became the Bushes. So the Scherf family is those of Ashkenazi Jewish blood. And the question we have to ask ourselves, is the Bushes of Jewish blood? Another topic for another day concerning the House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And I thank you, my friend.
And thanks to you, Bishop. Thanks to everybody who's been watching us. I'll be back later today. We've got 2 more shows coming up. Stay tuned, become a sponsor, support the Bishop on PayPal, and don't forget to tune in next week. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.